Hi, my name is Mike Gainer, and today I'm talking with Kirby Eldridge. Tell me, did you have any specific role models growing up?
Um, Actually, I know it's kind of cliched a little bit, but my main role models probably were my parents. Like they were that's who I look up to the most. And otherwise, it's guys like Batman and Captain America and stuff like that. But yeah, my parents were probably the people that kind of like guided me in the direction that I took. They believed in me.
Okay, so along those lines, are you more of a book guy or a movie guy?
I It just kind of depends on the moment. I like a book because you can really sink your teeth into it. And, it's a movie in your head, so you become more emotionally involved in the characters and what goes on. But if you want like a good Friday night out, then nothing beats a movie because like you see a premiere of something that's really cool, like a Dark Knight Returns or the Avengers or some scary movie, and you're watching it with like a couple hundred people in a theater, and everyone's jumping at the right moments and cheering and stuff like that. The energy, it's almost like going to like some sporting event, a football game or something, and that's always been really that's what I like about movies the most is the kind of the group thing, but.
So is that where you got your inspiration to write the book?
Um, yeah, like a lot of my inspiration definitely comes from movies. Braveheart, like kind of introduced me into more like a medieval kind of genre initially. Um, Lord of the Rings, reading Lord of the Rings, like kind of blew my mind as a kid.
A lot
Like,
of people's minds.
yeah, yeah, just like how in depth the world was, how there are different religions and languages and everything like that. Like I was like, wow, like this kind of thing can exist. But yeah, a lot of movie. I tried to pattern my book after, like I wanted to have the pacing of a movie or a comic book because that's what I do enjoy that a lot, and I wanted to put it in book form because like I said before, people can become more attached to the characters and you can tell a longer story, more detailed and stuff like that.
Yeah. I've read the book and I tell you, I really did like it.
Oh,
But
thank you.
I could, what genre would you say it actually falls onto? I saw some that I think in my mind said science fiction, some that said fantasy. Maybe there's a blend. Where would you put it?
It's definitely leans towards fantasy. I mean, you got your knights and elves. There's dragons mentioned in there, but you have some horror in there, like vampires, werewolf type characters. A lot of violence and gore, but there's a dark tone to it. So I guess probably like where Lord of the Rings would be called epic fantasy or classic epic fantasy. I've been calling it dark epic fantasy because there is a dark side to it, and but yeah, probably dark epic fantasy.
I noticed that the last nights they have a LunarWorks emblem up in the at the top left corner. Can you tell me what that's all about?
Yeah, it's part of our it's like creative collective. I started with my best friend Chris Gaynor. Both of us are ex-military guys and wanted to do something a little bit different with our lives after that. So we came up with the idea to create an entertainment company that we could have control over, kind of produce our own stuff. We're both storytellers, so we're interested in books, movies, comics, music, anything that we can think of and kind of like give it a try. And through the comic side of things, we've brought in some other guys with us. Um, Michael Jinks is part of LunarWorks. We've met some really good people that have kind of banded up to join us in our creative pursuits. And Studio Fizzy is another group based out of Augusta, and they've kind of become involved in the creative process as well as Juicy Dragon from up in Richmond, Virginia, and we've kind of created like a giant artistic hippie commune thing that we all kind of work together and try to produce and push each other, inspire each other, give each other a kick in the butt when we need it, and it's that's kind of what LunarWorks is. It's our company, and me and Chris and Mike that's kind of our side of the big thing.
I know that all books are somewhat autobiographical, so if you're looking at that and knowing that your experiences that you just went through there, is this book autobiographical, or is it based totally on something different?
I think most writers kind of have to put a little of themselves in their books, and especially if you're going to tell a story with three-dimensional characters and to really become attached to these guys and to write it, you kind of have to put yourself into it. And they're all aspects of you in some way or another. Even the really bad guys, you kind of have to put yourself in a really weird mind state to come up with what the villain's thinking about and what his motivations are. But yeah, definitely the Last Nights has some autobiographical content in it. I mean, that's a lot of the inspiration I get from a lot of my characters is either some of me or some of my friends. I always tend to put my friends in my books, and I apologize to any of my buddies who I've killed over the years, and you know, there's no offense, it just worked for that scene, you know. But yeah, like I use my experience and my emotions and stuff like that, and you go to really strange places to write some of the weird crap that I do. And so yeah, definitely. I mean, the guy on the cover kind of looks like me, so completely not on purpose at all. No.
Okay, KJ, now I'd like to talk to you about the book itself.
Oh, okay.
What I like to do is, when I read it and I really liked the book a lot, I broke it into vignettes. Kind of for me, it made it easier.
Okay.
So I'm going to throw a thing at you, and I want you to kind of tell me what you're thinking when you created these characters.
All right.
A brain quaker.
A brain quaker. I wanted to add, I guess this is part of where the sci-fi thing came about. I wanted to add sort of an ESP type of, you know, telepathy kind of element to it. I'm not going to get into the character too much, or who it actually involves, but I've always been into comic books. I mean, they're a huge influence on me. So the X-Men, you know, Professor X, it was always cool to me the way he could enter somebody's mind and kind of mess them up pretty good. And yeah, Brain Quakers came from that. And I figured, like, how, you know, like in a practical sense, how would that work in a medieval fantasy setting where it would be a little bit different? And that's where I got the brain quaking, leading to where you can kind of control animals and you know, like, and that's how that all started.
Yeah, I found that very fascinating.
Thanks.
How about the blood sphere flesh pit?
The flesh pit? The flesh pit actually came from a nightmare I had.
I can see the resemblance.
Yeah. I've gotten a lot of questions about that. Yeah, it's pretty creepy. Like the whole setup was almost like verbatim, step by step of a nightmare I had, and I wanted to find some way that this vampire army was feeding, and the only way I could think of it was to have like little stations set up and then like around you know, major cities. It's kind of crazy how the idea for the women being the breeders being being so willing. I actually saw something on Jerry Springer a long time ago about
interesting source.
It was about the KKK, where they had women on there that said they were breeders for the white race, and I was like, wow.
Are you a breeder?
Okay. So I was thinking,
Yes, I am. Yep. Oh, yes, big time.
so into this culture, this vampirism and everything that they actually can, you know, almost brainwash people into giving up their children so that these creatures of the undead can survive.
It's amazing that you can put that all together like that.
Yeah, it's amazing or really weird. I don't know.
Another concept or idea that I wondered how you got to is the whole Fury potion. How did that develop that he received these superhuman powers for only limited time?
I guess just playing sports for a while, like, and you always playing football, basketball, and baseball and stuff like that. You always hear about steroids and what, you know, like roid rage and all that stuff like that. So the Stonebreaker's Fury, the potion that you're talking about, it just seemed like a natural fit for it. It's given to goblins so that they can break through, so they can be more efficient, stronger miners, and they get the potion and kind of they go into a berserker rage and they can break through stone walls and stuff like that. So in my mind, that was like a good parallel or an analogy to steroids, and except for it's just maxed out to an unbelievable level where if you take too much or if you just have a bad trip, then your heart explodes and you die. So that's where the Stonebreaker's Fury comes from, and they don't have steroids per se, but that's more of I guess a metaphorical name for it.
Okay. Everybody has a favorite character. Mine was Drika, even though she came on later in the story. Do you have a favorite character?
It changes all the time. It kind of early on it was probably Dredge and Grey Maul, Cranon, the knight characters that would they kind of almost tell the story through them.
That's kind of the basic core.
You kind of follow their journey, but as I got into it and I got to know these characters more, some of the most fun characters to write, one was definitely Recklin, because he's a kind of a hated character by a lot of people because he's very manipulative and he seems like he's behind the scenes on everything, but to try to put things in his mindset was one of the funnest things for me to do, or most fun, I guess. Because I had to think like a complete bastard, pretty much. like the means justify, or the ends justifies the means in every situation. And like I'm nowhere near as smart as this guy, but if given the right situation, like that, he always comes up with a plan to manipulate things. Also later on, a character named Brand was really fun to write because he was in a position of power. But unlike a lot of the other leaders I've shown in the book, he was actually well liked. And I guess I have an issue with authority because I made a lot of the leadership characters kind of bums. But he was more fun to write because he could joke with the troops. They really respected him, and he always kind of like could pull something out of the hat to save the day in situations. But
one of the most polarizing ones is Pariah. I won't give you my personal opinion on the character itself, but how do you see that character as you wove him throughout the book?
He started out as a comic book character I made up when I was a little kid, and he always finds a way to pop up in different stories that I tell, because I like to use characters I've created in the past just as much as I like using my friends in stories. And Piranha is like you said, is very, very polarizing. Some people seem to really, really like him, and some other people, like I'm not going to say any names, tend to hate him and ask when he's going to die. And I'm not going to tell you what happens to him at the end of the book, but I wanted to show a character that on the outside looking at him, he's just horrible and despicable. His morality is very questionable, but like what he is he's very loyal. He's very loyal. He always takes the direct path to accomplish a task. He's harsh. He's very uncivilized, but in a lot of ways, I wanted him to almost be like a moral compass for the story. Like any situation like that came up, I wanted to make sure he had input on what was going on, because I think his opinion was always kind of like almost like a frying pan to the face. Like, oh, okay, that's what you think, huh? And he was just fun to write in that way. Like there'd be a scene where everyone's kind of talking and strategizing about how they're gonna, kill something or take something out, and and he would kind of say, what are we talking for? Let's just kill him, like that kind of thing. But yeah, like a lot of people don't like him. I like him, so for now he's gonna he sticks around for a little while.
Like I said, I really liked the book, and I really liked the way you portrayed yourself imagery-wise. And so I'm going to read a passage that I really liked and see what you thought, if you could remember what you were thinking about at the time that you were writing.
Okay.
The last rays of sunlight shone behind the ancient city walls, slowly withdrawing like desperate fingers losing their grip on a slippery window ledge. Recklin leaned over the balcony of Betfinger Palace to greet his newborn evening sky. Every night he would stand outside to survey his realm. He held no reservations in casting such a progressive glare upon the world. He saw himself as a paternal figure, and the realm was his wayward child, always in need of a little prodding to grow. Recklin alone knew what he had to do to ensure the survival of the free peoples of the world. No longer would a simple nudge be efficient to stem the destructive tide that was forming in the path of his charge. He realized that the survival of the realm required the cruel lash of his whip. I really like the way that scene kind of came across and said it for me. Do you remember that passage?
I actually do remember it. I was gonna make a joke like, oh, I didn't write that. No, but no, I do remember that. I remember the scene that I was writing for that, and it started off honestly as just kind of like a writing exercise that I was doing. That I wanted to. A lot of times, what I do to get jump started, like if you can't figure out how to open a scene or how to start anything, I take a cue from the movie Finding Forrester, when Sean Connery says, like you can always write. It's just like, tapping a vein, bleed out onto the page. Just go, like just start writing. So I knew that Recklin was going to be in the scene, and I wanted to kind of show what he was doing. And the only thing I had in my mind was he's staring out off the balcony at the city. And I was like, well, what would Recklin be thinking about? And so it just kind of started off from there. And I wrote about the sunset, right? I wrote about the sunset and like how he was seeing it and how he viewed things, and a lot of his philosophy on things actually came from that passage, because throughout the whole book that's why he takes such drastic action, such calculating, manipulative ways of doing things, because he does see himself as that kind of guy. And like I said, it started off as just writing anything to get started, and it came out to be you really liked it, so and it actually showed his character. It showed his motivation probably more than any other thing that I've written about him. And otherwise, like, he just comes off as a jerk or like I said, manipulative. And
I'm glad you put it that way. It kind of centered it for me, and that gave me a realistic picture of what he was looking at, and what what the kind of character he is.
Yeah, he sees himself as that. Like that's cool. I'm glad you brought that scene up. Like it didn't make me sound like as much of a hack as I feel like sometimes.
Okay, so enough the philosophical stuff. Let me ask you about this. Jeter, a Hall of Famer?
Jeter is definitely a Hall of Famer. Not even a Yankee fan, but yeah, Jeter is first ballot Hall of Famer, no question. Anyone who would think he's not got to be out of their minds. There's probably a Philly fan or something like that. I don't know.
Well, that does it for the interview. I appreciate you being here today, and again, we're talking to Kirby Eldridge, the author of The Last Nights.
Oh, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
All right.
That sound okay?
Yeah.
Good answer.
Oh,
I was surprised. I was hoping you'd recognize the scene.
Yeah, I did. I did recognize it.
Actually, or it'd be good if you didn't. Like, either way, it would have kind of went. Like,
How about that for some BS? Huh?
I like the classic beer drink as he's like, we're like laughing at Mikey in the back, just like.
What, as I'm reading?
Yeah. He took like a little swig, like maybe like 3 or 4 seconds before he actually had to come up. He was just like.
Just enough to get the
savor.
The whistle.
Oh, the classic.
To formulate the thoughts.
That'll look good on Amazon.
Yeah. Oh, we're not for kids.